Talking about some potential moves at the trade deadline. Here with us now to talk Mariners is Ryan Rowland-Smith on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. Our weekly conversation with Ryan brought to you by Eastside Weight Loss Clinic. Hey, Ryan, how's it going?
I'm doing fantastic. How you doing? What was that? Was that...
Eastside?
It was Eastside Weight Loss Clinic. Shout out.
All right.
Just trying to grab your endorsement deal, that's all.
Yeah.
No worries.
We have a lot of stuff to talk about looking forward. So I don't want to spend too much time looking back on a series loss, especially since it was a series loss. That being said, Ryan, I thought there were real opportunities here against the Red Sox, and Bump made a great point, which is that, in theory, if you were to group all these games together, the Mariners outscored the Red Sox, that you could say they had a better offensive performance, but it sure didn't feel like it. What are you seeing from the Mariners offense right now, the good and the bad?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I mean, homestand-wise, coming off that road trip, last time I spoke to you, I nearly missed my flight, by the way, so I apologize if I sound like I was scrambling. I apologize to Curtis yesterday. But now I'm relaxed, and I'm coming off.
Him.
Yeah.
Good.
Hey, coming off, honestly, a good homestand because, a couple of things that turned around. First of all, there was enough offense in that road trip prior before that you got to this homestand. But they just weren't doing it runners in scoring position. Curtis and I talked about this on the post game yesterday. They went 186 runners in scoring position, just not getting it done on that road trip. And all of a sudden, they performed when it counted at times. Now, I think I'm talking with Cleveland as well. Now, the Red Sox, you had a real opportunity. They all of a sudden they're in a situation. They lose Rafael Devers, so they're a little bit rattled. A lot going on off the field. Matter of fact, Netflix should have jumped in on the documentary this year compared to last year. I'm not going to lie. But there was an opportunity there where this lineup did not look the same at all. And you had a situation where you had Giolito, Walker Buehler before you get to Garrett Crochet. Now, Giolito, you go back to that game, man, that third inning, I can't get it out of my head. You had him on the ropes, and mound visit, the game started speeding up. And the at-bat to JP, he just, honestly, I wasn't expecting a fastball at the top of the strike zone, and he struck him out, and then he struck out Julio, and then he struck out Cal, and that was it. That was the turning point. And I was like, here we go, man. We just had this good series against the Guardians, and then all of a sudden you get this golden opportunity to take game one, especially with Buehler on the mound the next day. I thought it was a really good matchup, and obviously it was, before you get to Crochet. You lose that game to Giolito, take care of Walker Buehler. That was fun. Cal having a massive night. And then you run into Garrett Crochet. So when you really break it down, it came down to just a couple at-bats, game one, took care of business, game two. And I'm sorry, man, but Garrett Crochet, when he's on, forget it. Forget about it. And not to mention, too, the bullpen after that. You get the back end, which has been literally a top three bullpen in Major League Baseball over a month, like a good 40 days worth of just rock solid. So that was going to be really tough yesterday during that day game. And so, it was a rough one. But now I'm telling you, man, you have a rough stretch in front of you. The Cubs they're really good. And then you've got a couple other tough opponents. So, it was a tough one to drop, I'm not going to lie.
We're trying to figure out where does this team go from here. And naturally, we respond off of what we saw yesterday, right? Not a good performance by the squad, but you mentioned you're 4-2 on this homestand, better than the last time you were here. And then, Ryan, I just start to look at little positives because, look, you still got, a bunch of games left to play. Where are the improvements coming? And I stumbled across Cole Young, and it feels like and looks like over the past few games he's starting to find his groove. What are you seeing with him?
Yeah, hey, I'm glad. He's at the top of my little chart here. I'm looking at some numbers. And just looking at some breakdowns, not what has he changed. He's just he's taken a breath and he's gotten comfortable. Couple things. First of all, team overall. I'll get to Cole Young in just a second. Couple things. Team overall. Going into yesterday, the team. I don't know. I haven't updated the numbers yet, but the bullpen has just been rock solid. Last time I spoke to you, when I nearly missed my flight. I'm not. It sounds like I'm blaming you.
Really, like this
you
was like
really
the
shook.
second
That
time
was
you brought it up.
traumatizing.
Yeah.
It's the worst when you're in a look. SeaTac can get bad, but it's your home airport. When you're in another airport somewhere else, you're just freaking out. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But last time I spoke to you guys, I was really worried for good reason, about the bullpen. I mean, it was just like there's holes all over the shop, and there was some health issues and everything else. Bullpen was rock solid. Big reason why is just because starting pitching sets that tone where you're not walking guys, getting ahead of the count. You make the offense press a little bit more. Plus, you only. I can't stress this enough. It sounds so insignificant. When you have to cover 4 innings a night as opposed to covering 3, it exposes your bullpen if you don't have the depth. I mean, Cleveland Guardians, a classic example of that. You have 2 or 3 guys who are top 5 in every category, yet if you have to cover 4 as opposed to 3, everything changes. The Mariners bullpen has had to cover 4 innings, April and the month of May. Now, all of a sudden, you get into this rotation where everything looks good, obviously around Logan Gilbert, obviously going 5, but you're getting to that point where you can push through the 6th, and then on into the 7th if need be, and it just doesn't expose that bullpen. So that was a huge plus coming out of this homestand, and the walks are down, everything that goes with that. Offensively, man, look, in the month of April, this team was good because I said this to you guys last week, there was a really good balance to it. You had guys performing down the bottom of the lineup. Mind you, J.P. Crawford was hitting 9th, if you remember, in the month of April. Now, all of a sudden, you got Ben Williamson starting to figure some things out. It's not like he's crushing the ball and hitting dingers, but, man, I'm telling you, better at bats, laying off pitches that he'd usually just be a sitting duck with some of these pitches outside the strike zone. And on top of that, man, look, I'm telling you, I'm excited about Cole Young. And not that I wasn't when he first came up. He just, to me, and I was talking about this with Roman Anthony the last couple of days with the Red Sox. You get up, there's so much anticipation about you getting there. You go through this, wow, I'm first of everything, first home run and first walk-off and, first diving play I make and everything else. And everyone's like, oh, wow, what's the future look like? And you get all these, big picture questions. Then all of a sudden you get beyond that. It's like, all right, dude, now you got to produce. Now you got to figure out how to get through that 3rd, 4th at bat against a dude who's throwing 98 with sink. And so what I'm seeing now, once he hit the road and came back, and sometimes when you're a young player, you get on the road, you feel like no one's watching. I know it sounds crazy. I think since he's gotten back, he's just like, there's certain pitches per at bat that he's able just to recognize, lay off, and then all of a sudden get in a good count. Not to mention, I don't want to sound old school here, but when you're facing a young left-handed hitter, and you can, if you're a left-on-left, for example, like, again, I can go back to countless examples. I didn't have the best left-on-left stuff, I'll tell you right now. However, there was a script. You can throw something with a fastball with a little bit of movement inside and just expose them all day, breaking ball away. When he started putting those balls into left field, wasn't crushing him, just that one little thing, man. I'm telling you, 2 things happen. Number 1, pitching him, you can't just stick to a script. You have to come up with different ways to pitch him. And number 2, his confidence goes through the roof because it's like, you know what? I don't have to make ridiculously good contact or get ace swings off every single time, and I'm still on base. Your confidence goes through the roof. So when you see that 7, 8, 9 in this lineup start to do good things, whether it be Cole Young or Ben Williamson or some of these guys, I'm telling you, it just helps out in so many different factors.
We were talking a bit about the trade deadline, and Bump made a great point, which is that fortunately or unfortunately, this team's best thing to hope for is that a lot of the bats they have just become way more consistent, that a Rosarena suddenly looks amazing, that Julio looks like July Julio, and you start getting the best version of themselves. With that being said, maybe they don't go find an even better bat at the trade deadline, and maybe the move instead is to just get something and someone that can help. If you're thinking of I don't want to say a lesser profile, Ryan, but you know what I'm saying, of someone that could just kind of, round out those corners, what kind of addition makes sense for this team?
Well, I think, and I'm going to contradict myself here. Now, look, if talking about the second and third base areas, you got 2 young players, right? Now, it's a tough one because here you have it. I'm using these 2 examples, and I'll get to another position I'm looking at offensively as well. You get to a place where you have a Cole Young who you've invested a lot in. You want him to play every day, and you want a situation August, September, especially to add a bonus, man. When you're coming down that stretch in September, you want a young player to really feel that and learn what that's like. If you plan on being a playoff contender year after year. And same goes with Ben Williamson. Not as big as Cole Young, but I'm looking at this going, is there any way here you could, if you are going to literally put them in a situation where they're 7, 8, 9, and the swing and miss goes up a little bit, or there's not enough thump or add on there, maybe you can start looking at a situation where, hey, you know what? All right, we fill that void there at second base or fill that void there at third base, however you want. But then all of a sudden you look at that and go, hold on, no. We kind of do have a little bit of a area at first base too, where you don't have a situation that you're investing a lot into in regards to a prospect who you can at first base. As we know, Rowdy Tellez and Donovan Solano are filling that spot at first base. So you do have that. The hard thing about calling it a first base pickup or a DH pickup, they're just so competitive, man. You're going to have to give up a lot for that, right? So, like, I'm looking at this going, all right, if the Mariners in this year, and they've got this good young farm system and everything else, we know traditionally they don't go after rentals, but the rental player is going to be quite expensive coming at the end of July. And so I'm looking at this going, all right, how nifty can you get in regards to making a move that is attractive enough? Like, like I know JP Morosi talked about, Ryan O'Hearn. I would love that. Absolutely. Man, he's going to be really tough, competitive-wise, to compete with some of these other teams to go to at a first base. If there is somewhere, elsewhere that you can reach out to as well to pick up if you are going to fill a first base non-defensive position. I'm not saying it's easy to play, or a DH role in that regard. I still feel like I said this to you guys a week ago. Man, if you could get that extra bullpen arm, that would make a difference. This team is going to be winning this based off getting through 9 innings of shutout or close to. The bullpen can really, really help out with that too.
Hey, Ryan, in football, there's something called like hidden yardage, right? It's like, okay, well, penalty yards and stuff like that. And I'm trying to find just hidden things about this team that will hopefully show up later on in the season, allow them to have success. And the stat that I stumbled across was just stolen bases. After seeing Rowdy still won and seeing Cal still won, they're 4th in the league with 75 stolen bases. How important is that to the identity of the team, especially a team that struggles with runners in scoring position and just moving guys around?
Yeah, it's huge, man. It is huge. They did that in April, and a couple things it does, obviously with Victor Robles, a couple things it does. I'm telling you this from a pitching standpoint. It just puts, when you have, all right, a couple things. Number one, a guy's going to take off from first base, or you get humiliated. I'm saying that word when Rowdy just takes a shuffle step and off he goes, and the crowd's going nuts. Your brain anchors on that, and it affects how you pitch the next couple guys. It was so blatant, even in some of these innings we saw against the Red Sox, when you can't hold runners. Look at Walker Buehler was just an absolute shell at points because he just was not present with what he was doing at the plate. So that's the first factor. The other one is too, and we saw this a couple of times. We saw it against Gabe Spire, where if you can get a guy at third base and he's bouncing off that bag, you as from a catching standpoint, and you got Garrett Crochet out there who's really tough to catch, man. Like guys like that are tough because they can throw. They're trying to elevate, and then they can bounce that change up or that breaking ball down, or even a Roldis Chapman, using a couple of examples. When you get the guy at second and third, and you're pushing, and all of a sudden you got to make that perfect play or whatever, the catcher has to keep the ball in front of him. It is going to dictate the way they pitch call. That's just the way it goes. So it just has that element. April we had it. Obviously Victor Robles was there. Randy, obviously the hamstring is good to go. I like seeing that. If he's going to be this, by the way, he hasn't been hitting that great, but on base he's been through the roof. If he's going to be on base and you have that element, you want to see it a little bit more. I want to see some of these younger guys just get that extra base. If they don't have the speed, Eric Young Jr. get out there early and push for that extra base, man, because it is such a game changer when you're facing a team that can just put you on the ropes by what they're doing on the bases.
Mariners broadcaster and MLB analyst Ryan Rowland-Smith, kind enough to join us on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right. Thanks, guys.